Hey everybody, it's Gameragi. Today we're gonna be reading through Catherine's little pocket journal here that looks extraordinarily long, and it's in cursive, so I'm bound to screw up reading this. Yeah, just bear with me and we'll get through it. Here we go. I linked to Riven a week ago. The smell of the place overwhelmed me moments before I could see anything. With my sight only partially cleared, I stood motionless, peering ahead through a dim veil which was slowly lifting. There was a violent clang and bars appeared. I remember breathing slowly and very deeply, testing the familiar Riven air, but not recognizing a thing. I must have been hit with the dart right away. I thought it was an insect bite at first. I'm trying to remember it all, but it's difficult, maybe because of the drug. There was a voice. A man I did not recognize stood before me. Rivenese. Though he was wearing Denis dress, he seemed to be talking to me. But the poison was steadily taking effect. A shadow crept in, and I fell asleep. Then there were the many voices, but I understood none of them. Like hundreds of people whispering, I couldn't wake up. No matter. The dream did end, and now to be here with the deity. It's been so many years, I didn't realize how much I missed her. Like a piece of me that I had forgotten I'd lost. She's beautiful, and so full of warmth. But the years have also left her with a wound which was not there when we were children. I write quickly from my prison. Nelik will return your book, which the deity intercepted upon your arrival. After questioning her, I've concluded that it was written by Atrus for a very specific purpose. Gehn will desire to use it, although he may have suspicions. If you can find my prison, you will still need the combination to release me. Gehn keeps it in his office. Then I assume we're to signal Atrus. I think I know how it might be done, but don't signal him before I am released. Catherine. Okie doke. I do wish she were more interested. It seems like I'm asking all the questions. It's awkward. No one asks me where I've been, or what I've been doing. This hurts, but I understand it. Their beliefs are from out of ignorance and oppression. They are a Gentile people, but they've had their nest destroyed, and now they frantically cling to everything that might save them. But why have they chosen to cling to me? I'm confused. As a child, I always felt out of place here. I never belonged. They misunderstood me, and I couldn't relate to them. But now, I'm overwhelmed by an intense feeling that I owe everything to them and this place. I thought I would never see them again, and yet, I'm here. I've been given a second chance. But a second chance at what? Saving them? Fulfilling their prophecies? Being their savior? The moiety. Atrus would want me to chronicle all that I've learned. I can at least record some of it. It seems that when Atrus and I trapped Gehn on Riven many years ago, our efforts were witnessed by most of the inhabitants here. 2 of the Rivenese even witnessed the confrontation with Gehn at the fissure, where I linked back to Mist, and where Atrus threw himself into the abyss. Of course, they understood little of what they were seeing, but they somehow were able to guess that we had won, that Gehn was no god at all, but only a feeble impostor, a false god, and that we had trapped him on Riven. I always hoped they would deduce this simple truth, but their further conclusions have astonished me. Atrus has stripped Gehn of his power, therefore Atrus must be a true god. As a god, he was choosing me, the spiritual misfit from a Rivenese womb, to be his wife. I was transcending into deity, and would lord over Riven forever. Thus the moiety, as they call themselves, were from a dissident society, sworn enemies of Gehn. I did not know of their beliefs regarding Atrus and myself until 2 days ago. Etty was, for some reason, hesitant to tell me. I can't figure out why. I know she doesn't believe these things. Of course, everyone else assumed that I would be aware of my own God state, so they made no effort to inform me. I just realized it at a recent gathering to which I was invited. I sat at the front of a dimly lit and crowded cave as they told a mythical story of my own life, acting out the battle between Atrus, myself, and Gehn at the edge of the fissure. The events had been exaggerated into grandiose proportions. It was offensive, but I was unable to stop it. I was unable to break the illusion which is the very foundation of their hope and purpose, and which had given them courage to band together and rebel against Gehn. Since then, I've learned of other doctrines and beliefs that have evolved, the most disturbing of which is the conviction that one day I would return to Riven to free them. Some believe that I will overthrow Gehn. Others believe that I will bring them to paradise. I don't know how to deal with this. I fight myself. I love these people, my only real kindred. But they will not love me as an equal, which hurts me. I would rather be their slave than their master. Over the years, as Gehn's power has become greater and greater, the Moedi's numbers have grown, and they have become more and more adept at hiding themselves. Now they live in a complex network of caves that he still has not discovered. The Moedi, for the most part, have completely severed their relationship with any of the Rivenese that chose against joining them. But I hope they've not sacrificed vital limbs in order to remove the cancer. Even Father and Enent are still on the surface in Gehn's domains, and I long to see them, but a dimness shrouds Eti's face every time I mention them. Since this break took place, they have interfered with the surface in superficial ways, occasionally destroying one of Gehn's constructions or stealing food from the villagers. They wear strange masks and costumes during their chant forays to the island surface, and take this regalia very seriously, refusing to be seen by anyone outside the Moedi unless they were properly attired. They get much pleasure out of the fact that those on the surface are frightened by these costumes, calling them evil spirits or ghosts. It was during one of these expeditions that they fortuitously rescued me from one of Gehn's guards when I first appeared on the island. Otherwise, I'm sure I would have been delivered to Gehn immediately. I've no doubt but he's now searching for me. Of course, I'm now aware that I was fooled. Atrus is not here. I was at first devastated by this realization. Now I am thankful. He would be in extreme peril here. Also, there is a quiet inner voice, an echoing remnant that wants him far away. I've just witnessed an age dying, grasping at its last breath. Today, I ventured to the surface to see what has become of this island. I hoped it would not be as bad as the Moedi had repented. It was worse. They have become slowly accustomed to its steady decay, but I was devastated. The lips from which the kisses rot has fallen words, will fall cold breath. The womb from which the city released has suffered heart, will suffer death. To get to the surface, we had to travel through a complex series of doors and passages. Before the last of these doors, they offered me a weapon, which I accepted, and then a mask. I held the mask in my hands for a while, wondering what sort of terror it might invoke in those members of my family who still live on the surface. But I also knew I must keep my identity hidden from Gehn's ever-vigilant eye, so I accepted it as well. Then, together, we swam a short expanse and emerged out of the surface of the ocean under a rocky overhang. The harsh sunlight made my eyes sting, but the fresh, rich air was exhilarating after these past weeks in the dank cave. The two men with me were silent, communicating only with hand signals. The three of us emerged from our hiding place and made our way to the top of the plateau. At the edge of a thick and overgrown area of the forest, they stopped, peered through the foliage for a moment, and then turned to me as if awaiting my command, but could not respond. In fact, I found it difficult to move. I was smelling, hearing, and breathing my youth. This swept over me in a matter of seconds, but in seconds more, all feeling was gone. There was numbness. We did not stay long on the surface, but it was long enough to see the worst. Riven, which was once one island, has split apart into 5 distinct pieces, about a half a mile apart. 4 of these have been claimed by Gehn as his exclusive domain. Only his ministers and personal militia are even allowed to access them. From my vantage point at the edge of the forest, I could see 3 of these islands. They are stripped of their former beauty and are riddled with Gehn's self-absorbed constructions. The deity rarely visit these closely guarded places. There's another island which I could not see, as it had evidently crept away to a terrific distance. The deity are very unclear as to what exists on this island, except for the fact that they know it was where the great tree used to exist. The forest is located on the island that the surface dwellers and the deity still refer to as Riven, but they also still refer to their entire world as Riven. This island is where the village is, which has changed dramatically. It is also the one remaining province of the people, though Gehn's influence can still be seen everywhere. Of course, I know the reason for the fracturing of the island. The deity do not. Gehn wrote this place, and it will die, as all of Gehn's ages eventually die. I feel nothing today. I am nothing. I live in a cave on a dying world inhabited by people that... They are treating me so strangely. They don't know how to relate to a god. I'm still an outcast here. They whisper amongst themselves, talking of my bravery during my excursion to the surface, how I walked across the island bold and unafraid. They don't know me. Even Etty is uncomfortable around me. At times there is no awkwardness, and I'm only Catherine to her. But at other times, I'm something else. I'm afraid. There's such a great numbness inside me. Today, I do not feel closeness with my people, neither am I offended by their worship of me. I do not hate Gehn. I don't feel anything. At least Neela is still close. I am boiling. Gehn is making and writing books. I wish they had told me sooner. Atrus should have realized this would happen, of course. Gehn would have written all the materials necessary to the dunny craft of making books into this age, and probably every other age that he ever wrote. He's attempting to write his way out of here. We did not imprison him. We only delayed him. This age has become his factory, and the people are his machines, all working in his mad pursuit to become a god, to carry on his noble dunny cause. So far, he has not been able to produce a fully functional book. Atrus has never believed in destiny, but I don't know what else to call it. It's too perfect. It's too much of a coincidence. They hang on to my every word, though they do not understand them. I am their hope, and now I have returned. I owe this to them. There is no choice. It's been a long time since my last entry. It is hard to recognize, but I have found the Starfisher. It is located on the island which the Rivenese call Aleppo, meaning water pool, but which is referred to by the deity as Aklatwan, meaning pool of stars. Having once allowed Atrus to escape this age without leaving an open door behind us, it has since been sealed with a skin of heavy iron. A crude telescope has been mounted over a locked viewport, the combination to which was acquired by the deity before my arrival. 21434. In the early days, the deity, seeking an escape from Riven, briefly pursued the idea of reopening the fissure. They discovered a small mechanical step to prevent the scope from hitting the portal window. Ultimately, however, they decided against opening it. I hate to think what would have happened to them if they had not left it alone. I've instructed them to stay away from it. I'm almost certain that with the decayed state of the islands, opening the fissure now would be a disaster. I've heard that in the days immediately following Gehn's confinement on Riven, he attempted to determine the feasibility of navigating the stars beneath the fissure, for he had seen the mist book fall from Atrus's hands into the very same space. To this end, he would have people, alleged transgressors of the law, thrown into it, so he could observe their fate. The telescope, which still stands there, is one he had built for these callous experiments. It is said that they did not die, but what became of them remains a mystery. It appears that the limits of Gehn's optics prevented him from learning their fate. The star field beneath the fissure is not as it seems. It is a gentle space, as hospitable to life as a flowing river. This is how Atrus explained it, after he had fallen into it. But much more than that we've never understood, and we were never able to conclude upon its origins. But the visions tell me that it was from out of the will of the Maker, perhaps for some greater purpose that we cannot yet understand. I still remember Atrus's words from his journal. I realized the moment I fell into the fissure that the book would not be destroyed as I had planned. It continued falling into that starry expanse. There must be some greater reason behind it. I neglected to mention it earlier. The unique shape of one of the great daggers which appeared during our escape from Riven, the very dagger that stands vertically at one end of the Akhlatuan, has been adopted by the moiety as the symbol of their cause. It is a sacred symbol for them. It is the representation of all of their doctrine and their representation of me. To deface this symbol is sacrilege. They have their own mythical explanation regarding its sudden origins. I haven't told them that I wrote it into this age along with all the other daggers. It's strange how such a young religion can be so unbending, even to their own God. I have tried to dissuade them of the notion that symbols contain so much power. The enemy uses this paranoia against them, and are fearful of Gehn's symbol, and are terrorized by his symbolic use of the wark. But they don't want to hear this from me. Perhaps my attempts have even caused some of the younger members of the moiety to doubt that I am Catherine. My rare encounters with those who say they follow Gehn have been discouraging. I have hoped to have some communication with the surface villagers, but they always flee from me. But I have heard news of some of the villagers' beliefs regarding Gehn. Soon after we trapped Gehn on Riven, he claimed that he was responsible for the daggers, placing them around the island as a reminder of their failure. In the village circles, it is told that this was a punitive act performed by Gehn to mark the beginning of a period of restitution, at the end of which, if they have proven their devotion to him, they will be delivered unto a new and better existence. I will continue to try to reach them. The door is open and Gehn is free! Gehn has the ability to create working books. In fact, he has written one age before I arrived. But he kept this accomplishment so well hidden that only his closest ministers were aware, until now. I'm not sure, perhaps he has written others. Other news. A few years ago, before the moiety were forced into hiding, one of them managed to steal what appeared to be a test book that Gehn had intended to destroy. It had been practically written, but did not work. They didn't tell me about it until now because they thought it was useless. Back then, none of Gehn's books worked. But instead of correcting the problem at its source, he blamed it on the impure wood of the Riven forest and proceeded to engineer a cumbersome mechanical remedy, a complex series of domes, to heal his book's inherent flaws. One of the consequences of this crude solution, however, was that the domes demanded huge amounts of energy, and the related problems delayed his success for quite some time. At last, however, he finished his work and was finally able to link to an age. But he kept his success extremely well hidden. However, for some reason or another, belligerent pride, he has made modifications to the domes which make it obvious that he's using the domes to breathe life into his half-dead books. Perhaps he means to lure us into using the books on the domes. He can't believe that we would blindly swallow this suicidal bait. But he wouldn't know that we have one of his books, a stolen burnt book. Have read burnt book. Age it describes would be unsuitable for a new home for the moiety. Must be modified. I will dream. Have requested a group to solve combination that will open the domes. Once open, we can power the burnt book. I do not think Gehn will interfere. He will leave the bait. Have begun writing the moiety's age. Now must acquire second book from Gehn. There is tension. A strain blurs my vision, and nightmares. Neela and Etty, stay close. Much has happened. Almost everything is prepared. We've stolen another book, but I'm concerned Gehn will miss it. We have also discovered the combinations for entering the domes, but we have not discovered the method for powering them. By powering our burnt book with Gehn's domes, we will be able to link to this age, but we will only have access to the domes for a short amount of time before we are discovered. Therefore, we can only use the domes once. I must find another way to make the books work. The gateway images in Gehn's books and on the burnt book all seem to share the same sickness. If they're not powered, the images are black. It might be possible to clear the vision with only... We will write substance into the moiety age. All is ready. Now all we can do is wait for word from the Moetian-esque, who are on the lookout for Gehn to power and use the domes. When he does that, we will have access to one of Gehn's domes just long enough. After linking to the age which I've written, I only have to locate the book window's substance and reform or adapt it. Laying this window over the gateway image should heal the books and make them work. This will allow me to use the second stolen book and return to Riven with more of the book windows. We will then no longer have to rely on Gehn's clumsy domes. I laugh at these plans. I sound like Atrus. I'm risking my life, but I feel no fear, only anxiety. Perhaps it is the source of my nightmares in the fissure. Like a great wound is opened. It stains the riven soil with blood. I hold the moiety knife. The voices grow so loud. For their part, the moiety have complete faith that I will accomplish my task and lead them to a better world. It is the fulfillment of their prophecy. But they are also fearful and tense. I don't know what they will think or do if I fail. It is done. It seems too good to be true. I feel like it's all still a dream. We have already evacuated all the moiety to this new age. It is beautiful, and I am pleased. At last, my people will live in safety and comfort. They stand under the bare sky, unafraid, and dazzled by their freedom. They are happy. They have named it Tay. There's still much to be done. We're not protected yet. The only way to completely safeguard the place is to destroy the book which links to here from Riven. But I do not even know how to bring this up to the moiety. They will be extremely reluctant about destroying their only link to Riven. I share this hesitation. I would be cutting off my only connection, but for their sake, it must be done. I'm anxious to know if our activities have aroused Gehn's suspicions. If so, we must act quickly. Even so, I feel that now we are impregnable. Tomorrow I'll return to Riven to see Gehn's reaction for myself. But tonight, I finally rest. The end. Holy cow, that was long. But wow. She's a very good writer. It was like reading a book. Just in cursive. Okay, so wow. Catherine wrote this age, Tay, with this big old tree in it. And evacuated all the moiety people here. Well done, Catherine. And she even wrote that material to make the windows, those power window things. She wrote those into the age so that she could just bring it back and use it on all the broken books. Wow. Catherine is so many times greater at writing books than Gehn is. That's awesome. And these are her people. So Atrus is married to a woman who was born and raised in Riven. That's pretty interesting. Because Gehn wrote the Riven book, didn't he? I don't know, something really ironic about that. But, wow, cool stuff. And we basically have a plan now. That telescope looking into the starfish here, she found a way to break into it, basically. Or the moiety people did. There's like some thing, yeah. So there's a little step thing down here, I guess, that releases the lock, so you can actually break through the viewport and open the fissure up again. That might be a good way to signal Atrus, but it's also gonna rip this place apart. So, or Riven apart anyway. So that'll be like the last thing we do. And this code here is how we're gonna look into that. So that's pretty neat. Anyway, very cool stuff. Thank you, Catherine. We have to save you now. Because apparently that one last little look to see how Gehn was reacting was too much. And Catherine got captured. So, yep. Now we're going to have to rescue her. We don't know the code to her cell, though. So, at least at the point that I'm reading this. So hopefully we can take care of that. Anywho, thanks for listening, guys. Sorry if my reading is really terrible. My God. I'm trying. This cursive is kind of brutal at times. Anyway. Yeah. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.